Welcome back to Couch Talk, everybody. I'm Joe, and today we're here to talk about the movie Searching. This movie is directed by Anish Chaganty, I believe it's Chaganty, and it stars John Woo as David, the father searching for his missing daughter. And the only other big actor in this movie is Deborah Messing, who plays Detective Vic. She's the detective assigned to his case to help him find his daughter. Everyone else are people I haven't really seen before in anything. A quick Google, you'll find out about their names, but I won't really be discussing them much. Maybe a little bit from the daughter, but that really is it. So this movie is essentially David's character. He plays the father, and one night his daughter goes out for her study group, and the next morning he discovers that she either A, never came home, or B, woke up early and went to school, but he soon discovers that in fact she did not come home and that she is missing. And if you've seen the trailers, you find out small things like she stopped going to piano lessons months ago, but has been taking the money that he's been leaving her for them and depositing them into her bank account. And there's just this big trail that he has to follow and try and help the cops figure out what happened to her. And by logging into her laptop, he's able to search through her files, which is a complete invasion of personal space, but under the circumstances, I believe it is fitting. But that really is where this movie is. It's essentially how far would a father go to find his daughter. This movie is incredible from start to finish. Dewey, stop. Let me rephrase that. This movie is like fine wine. It gets better with age. Or maybe you like cheese. I'll use the analogy for cheese. It's like good cheese. It gets better with age. The beginning of this movie, it starts off really strong. And it starts off with essentially showing the evolution of this family through the evolution of modern technology. So, like, in the beginning of the movie, it shows, the dad, the wife, the daughter, all growing up, and it starts on, like, a really old Windows computer that everyone used to have in, like, their living room. It was, like, the big cinder block ones that sat in, like, a cupboard. And he, uploads photos of, like, her first day of school and her first piano lessons. And as she grows older and technology grows over, he goes to newer computers, and eventually, in modern day, it lands him on a Mac. And it was done very, very well. It reminded me a lot of Up. And yes, I know a lot of other reviews have been saying that, but it is just so spot on. And I'd be an idiot not to admit that it has some serious similarities with the way that it's just told, with a fast-paced, quick-cut, just evolution of their life. And then it kind of slows down a little bit, but that's not a bad thing. The tension has to slowly build to the climax of the movie, which is just out of this world, man. It really is, and I was never bored throughout this movie. John Chu gives at least the best performance I've ever seen him in. Now, I always loved him in the Harold and Kumar movies, but he really shows that he can act in this, and he's just so riveting and spellbinding to watch, and he really brought his A game. As for Deborah Messing, Detective Vic, she is also very good. She also brings her A game, and she has a lot of heart to give in this movie and a lot of reason to show emotions. I won't go into spoilers, but she brings her A game as well. Both of them they're just there. They just brought it. They really shine. And, this movie is filmed, most famously, to look like everything was shot from like a webcam or a cell phone, so you don't get like those 4K beautiful images you get in a Christopher Nolan movie or anything, but it just works. I don't know if it would have worked as well not in this type of film format, because it really adds to the dread and the intensity of it, and it makes it seem a lot more like secluded and alone, and it doesn't feel like there's like a camera crew there. Like, it really feels like he's just by himself doing what he's doing, and that's really what makes the movie work so well, is that it's never so far-fetched that it seems like a movie. Like, this is all stuff that all of us are capable of doing. We spend our whole lives in our phone, and how many times have you read an article that you were interested in, and then you opened up a new tab, and then Googled something about it, found something there, and then Googled something else, and, it went from looking to how this person was able to afford this car when they work at Starbucks, turned into how they were in a conspiracy theory for murder. Like, I don't know, the more you dig, the more you find out. It's just, and we're all so accustomed to that. If you ask an older person to do that, chances are they're not too accustomed with modern technology and they won't be able to, but our generation, sure, why not? We grew up with it. There were a lot of moments where I thought that I could predict what was going to happen in this movie. I've seen a lot of movies. I go to the movies every single Tuesday, sometimes Tuesdays and Thursdays if there's multiple movies that are playing that I want to see, sometimes Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Sundays. I've seen a lot of movies, and some of my favorite movies are from Christopher Nolan and M. Night Shyamalan because I love the movies that give you big plot twists, like Insomnia or The Prestige, Inception. I mean, it's not really a plot twist, but it was a super, super awesome payoff, and Inception is actually one of my favorite movies. But then you also have Memento. All of those movies are from Christopher Nolan, but then you got great ones like M. Night Shyamalan's Signs or The Sixth Sense, or the most recently, The Visit, I believe. Yeah. Or even my favorite movie from him, Unbreakable. Another twist at the end. Like, those movies where they like throw you a curveball at the end are some of the best kinds. And the director of this movie himself has openly said that one of his favorite directors of all time is M. Night Shyamalan because he loves the way he tells stories. And you could see that bleeding into this. Like, you could see the creativeness behind it that was inspired by M. Night Shyamalan, and it really shows here, and it really pays off. And I hope M. Night Shyamalan sees this movie and, you know, reaches out to this guy and says, like, good job, because he absolutely deserves it. A little food for thought: this director used to work for Google, and his dream project was to make this movie, and in order to do it, he quit his job and he rented out a small little studio, or he rented an apartment where he and a couple friends, you know, just 5 people sat in a room and edited this movie, and they did it all off their own savings. They made this whole movie by themselves, paid all the actors and everything. I believe it was a $1 million budget. They quit their jobs to film this movie, not knowing if even more than 5 people would see it. And now it's worldwide, and it's made over $15 million. Now, the movie was maybe $1 million budget. You gotta figure maybe a couple extra million from marketing and paying the actors and everything, but no more than $10 million. And this movie's already made $15 million in its opening weekend. It's for sure already an instant success for Sony and the director. I'm sure this is going to open up more opportunities for him to do more movies. Hopefully, maybe he'll get to work with M. Night Shyamalan or maybe Christopher Nolan, because this guy has a very creative mind and he has stories to tell, and I look forward to seeing what he could do in the future. But anyway, back to the movie. It's just, you know, movies like this come out so few and far between, where you get like these amazingly well done plot twists. You know, Unfriended came out recently that was filmed kind of the same way, but it really wasn't that good. I didn't like it at all. Although I can't help but think that the financial success of that movie is the only reason why this movie was even given the go-ahead to premiere at Sundance, because obviously there is an audience for something that is filmed through the eyes of like a webcam or a cell phone. So I guess I could say thank you for making that movie, because I would have never gotten this masterpiece. But yeah, you know, a masterpiece when you think you have it figured out. Like I said, you know, like a minute or two ago, I've watched a lot of movies, and there was more than 3 times where I was like, I figured it out, and then every time they throw me a curveball, and then even after they throw me the curveball and they tell me this is what happened, I'm like, oh wow, I didn't see that coming. But then they throw you another curveball, and just when you think the story's wrapping up, it gets better and better and better. And there was a point where I was like, wow, I don't know if this can get any better. And then it gets better. And I don't want to go into spoilers, but each time it got better, and usually that's a cop-out when like you feel like a movie's going to end, and then it keeps going, and it kind of drags, and it's like, all right, I wish you kind of just ended it with the last one, but whatever. But my score for this movie, while towards like the 80% mark of this movie, was around like a 7.5. And then I got to an 8.5, and then a 9.5, and by the end of this movie I was at a 10. And the only gripe I have with this movie, unfortunately, does have to do with the filming aspect of it. There was a scene with a physical altercation, which I wish I actually got to see, but it's kind of like utilized from like an outside perspective. Like there's like a physical altercation happening, but someone else is filming it. But it's like very shaky, and it's like one of the things that you'd see someone post on like YouTube or like a fight video or something, and you can't really see what's going on, and then you kind of hear about it afterwards, and like you see the after results, and I wish I kind of got to see the fight scene. But aside from that, this movie was just so flawless. Again, this movie was made on a $1 million budget, off of a dream, and a lot of these movies don't get made anymore because we live in a generation where only superhero movies or sequels are huge money grabs, and Hollywood doesn't want to make a lot of movies that they don't think are going to be successful. They don't want to take the chance on it. The Nice Guys, which is one of my favorite movies a couple of years ago, I was head over heels in love with. I walked out so happy. It had good reviews from both critics and audiences. It had a great story, great action, great humor, great acting. Nobody went to see it. so it didn't spawn a sequel, which is really sad. It was done by Shane Black with Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe. Another movie like The Lost City of Z with Charlie Hunnam didn't make a whole lot of money, which is really sad. Upgrade just came out recently with the Tom Hardy lookalike. I can't remember his name, but the movie was fantastic. It was like a mix of like thriller, horror, and action, and it was so good. And it only made $10 million. And if this was a $1 million movie, like budget-wise, would have been fine, but it wasn't. It was a lot higher, and it's sad to see that it didn't get the audience that it deserved. And movies like this are a dying breed. So please, if you're watching this, take my advice. This movie is fantastic. If you don't believe me, check out the score on Rotten Tomatoes by both fans and critics. And I promise you will not be disappointed if you go and see this movie. It is so good from start to finish. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you want to see this movie? Has my review changed your mind? If so, let me know in the comments down below what you think of it after you saw it. Anyway, please like, subscribe if you liked the video, and I'll catch you next time.